before you drink water, before you pick up your phone and check it, before anything else in the morning, there's a 30-second activity that Ayurvedic physicians were writing about 2,000 years ago, and that's scraping your tongue. And the more I've learned about this insanely simple practice, the more I realized it is a perfect example about what I love about Ayurveda. Something that takes 30 seconds can create these ripples far beyond that 30 seconds. It's low-hanging fruit that sends a subconscious message to yourself that you cared about yourself, you cared for yourself, you kept a promise to yourself. And that's a really great way to also send the message that discipline is care, because it immediately feels good. So with that said, let's start the series all about my daily routines that I've learned from Ayurveda school with tongue scraping. You are listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern vitality. If you are seeking to reconnect with your innate vibrancy, you're in the right place. I'm Emily Davis, a seasoned holistic esthetician and herbalist. Join me as we unlock the secrets of ancient skincare practices, explore the beauty of seasonal and nature-based living, herbalism, and true holistic well-being for you and the broader ecosystem. This podcast is brought to you by Stratum Aesthetics. Head to stratumaesthetics.com to find curated skincare, body care, and other wellness products hand-selected by me. Now enjoy the show. Welcome back in. Today's the first habit in this mini series, all about the daily habits that I've been incorporating into my daily routine that I've learned about in Ayurveda school. And these are part of the dinacharya that I've been personally working with and learning about. Dinacharya is your daily habits, your daily rituals. And if you didn't listen to the introduction to this series, go back and listen to that. That was last week's episode. It's going to give you context for today's episode and why these practices aren't just more things to add to your never-ending wellness to-do list. There's a much bigger philosophy under why Ayurveda cares so much about the little things that we do every single day. And I want to start with this small and unglamorous practice of scraping the gunk off your tongue in the morning. If you enjoy today's episode, if you enjoy the lens that I take on skincare and holistic wellness and self-care, then you will love my weekly newsletter. It's called Moonday Notes. So head to the link in the show notes to get signed up for that. It's a love letter into your inbox every single Monday, so I can't wait to see you there. But today I'm talking about the first habit in a list of habits that I want to tell you about this first because, like I said, it's low-hanging fruit that creates containment for a really good morning routine. It's the first thing I do when I wake up. Well, I should say, wake up, snuggle Teddy, go to the bathroom, and then tongue scrape. After that, I brush my teeth, turn the kettle on, oil pull, and then I drink a quart of warm water, which I'll get into in the series, not today. Although we're talking about oral health today, I should argue, though, I believe hydration is a huge part of oral health, but we'll keep hydration for another episode. What I like about today's habit is there's literally no excuses not to do it. It takes less than 30 seconds. It feels good. It sets up this reliable, repetitive, repeated action, which sets in motion the rest of the actions in your morning routine. And for me, it's a signal like I'm caring for myself. And part of caring for myself means not picking up my phone. It means drinking a big glass of water But even on the days when I screw up and maybe I do pick up my phone and start reading email off the bat, if I at least signal that I did something for myself, even on those bad days, I just feel like it's easier to get back on track. And I think there's this subconscious thing also where your first thought in the morning isn't like, oh, I've improved myself, which, side note, wanting to show up as your best self is not a bad thing at all. But instead of your first thought being about improving yourself, it's more of a, wow, I showed up for myself, and then carrying that through the day. I don't know. I'm telling you, practicing dinacharya has completely changed my life. I'm healthier and more vibrant than I have felt in the last 10 years after putting down constantly needing to optimize. And instead, I've spent the last 2 years making these small, repeatable, rhythmic changes in my life very slowly. And tongue scraping is so interesting because it's in the foundational texts of Ayurvedic medicine. These are roughly 2,000 years old, and it's been part of the recommended daily routine ever since. So these were written by physicians in the training of other physicians because it's a diagnostic tool, something that you can use to start noticing your tongue and actually getting a picture of the current state of your digestion. And that might be like, oh shit, when you look at your tongue and start to notice what's going on there. Looking at the color, is it generally pink? Is it unusually pale or very red today? Are there areas of the tongue that are more red, like the tip of the tongue? Is that more red? Looking at the coating day to day, is there barely any? Is there a thin coating? Is it a thick coating? What color is it? Does it scrape away easily? Does your tongue look comfortably hydrated? Is it unusually dry? Is it excessively hydrated? What type of saliva is happening? Is the texture of your tongue smooth, or are you noticing cracks, scalloped edges? Is there swelling of the tongue? Other things that seem different or unusual to you. And you don't necessarily need to know how to diagnose a tongue, but what I'm inviting you to do is to start learning what your tongue normally looks like and noticing whether there are changes alongside your digestion, alongside different like nervous system patterns, noticing what it looks like in the morning after eating a really late dinner, maybe after you had a heavy meal last night. What's it look like if you've been constipated recently, when you're feeling really good and your digestion is strong? You're just collecting information over time, and you're learning another language of your body that you didn't even know that it was communicating with. A completely clear, thin coating with a healthy pink color underneath is the goal state. More coating on the tongue in Ayurveda means there's more ama. Ama is incomplete digestion, so more undigested residue sitting in the system from last night's dinner, last week's habits, or whatever has happened recently. And ama is very loosely translated as toxins, but I've come to learn that it's not toxins like we think of in the West. It's this disgusting putrid sludge that comes from incomplete digestion of our food. But the interesting thing is that food isn't just food as we think of it. We eat with our eyes, we eat with our ears, with all of our senses, and so we can have mental ama from not digesting. But the coating on our tongue is more of just like that physical ama that's built up from slow, sluggish digestion. And it's more than just about scraping that gunk, that ama off of your tongue so that you're not just swallowing it when you go to take your first glass of water. It's also about physically supporting the digestive process, which is a huge deal. In Ayurveda, in Chinese medicine, digestion is everything. It's ground zero for every issue. No matter your imbalance, an Ayurvedic practitioner would want to know the quality of your digestion first. So you've got acne. Let's start by looking at digestion. You have perioral dermatitis. Let's start by looking at the quality of your digestion. You're seeing premature aging. Let's go take a look at the quality of your digestion. Your mouth is the beginning of your gut. So we think of the gut only as belly or the intestines, but it's the whole GI tract, and the mouth is the first part of that. So when we're thinking about the skin-gut connection, we need to be thinking about the mouth. And our body is so cool. It's so intelligent because digestion actually begins with seeing the food, with smelling the food, tasting it, anticipating it, chewing it, and mechanically stimulating the tongue with the tongue scraper through that action activates little sensory receptors, and this is going to increase salivary activity. Saliva is a big part of digestion. It's not just mouth moisture. It lubricates the food, and it contains digestive enzymes that help dissolve the compounds. But a heavily coated tongue can interfere with the very beginning of digestion, which is the taste perception. And you might think taste is just a nice thing to have, but taste isn't just about flavors. We've recognized through every traditional medicine system that tastes have different qualities and effects on our body. So it's a way for our body to understand what a food or herb is likely to do. So this was like first day of herbalism school. We tasted different herbs and guessed what their qualities in our body would be. So let's take sweet. Marshmallow root is very sweet, even though it's not sweet like candy. But if you haven't lived in a world with candy, you would think marshmallow root is sweet, or root vegetables, or grains and nuts. These are all considered sweet. And sweet is building for tissue, and it's moistening. It's softening, but it's also very heavy in our body. And what about sour taste? Sour is known to kindle your digestion. This is why lemon water first thing in the morning is so good. What it's actually doing, think of biting into a lemon. What's going to happen in your mouth? It's going to fill with saliva, right? This is an anticipatory digestive response. Sour taste is telling our body food is coming, prepare to receive it. And sour is really great for somebody who has digestive weakness. So all of this to say, taste is so important. It's reporting physiological information to your body, even if you're not conscious of it. And when you don't have the full perception of taste, your body's missing out on the signal that it evolved to have. Taste also triggers the type of enzymes and gastric fluids that you're going to need to digest this meal that you're eating right now very well. So if taste is dulled, there's less accurate information about what's actually coming down the line, and digestion is starting out underprepared. So it's starting out more in a reactive state rather than an anticipatory state. And as I was writing the notes for this, I always like to challenge my own thinking. And I was like, well, we didn't evolve with a built-in tongue scraper, so it doesn't really seem like that big of a deal. And as I was thinking about this, I was like, okay, well, we haven't evolved with a modern diet. We haven't evolved with sleeping under artificial light or the lack of physical activity that our modern lives don't have. And we also have diets high in refined carbs and sugar and processed foods. These are all associated with heavier mucus and biofilm production than diets that humans mostly ate for most of history. And also, throughout different cultures, there have been chewing sticks that were a big part of daily life, and food is also much softer now than it was in the past. It's much less fibrous, it's less textured, and so, we're living in a different landscape. All right, so I'm talking about tongue scraping. What the heck do you actually do? A tongue scraper is this U-shaped tool that's made out of copper or stainless steel. Copper tongue scrapers are really common because copper is considered cleansing. Copper is antimicrobial. It's durable, easy to rinse. So you'll take this U-shaped tool, you'll put it over your tongue, and you'll do about 5 to 7 gentle passes first thing in the morning from the back of your tongue towards the tip of the tongue. Rinse the scraper in between if you're seeing visible coating. You don't need to press hard. You don't need to scrape until your tongue looks squeaky clean. And you may still see the tongue looking kind of white after you scrape, but you're mostly concerned with just gently removing this top coating. It should not be done to the point of pain. You're not causing bleeding. You're not going so far back that you gag. If you do have a very sensitive gag reflex, there's a couple things that might help, which includes starting in the middle of the tongue and gradually working farther back as you get accustomed to it. You can try exhaling while you scrape forward. Make sure that you keep your tongue extended out of your mouth rather than trying to scrape it while it's sitting back in the mouth. Make sure that you're using light pressure. Getting really aggressive with it can make the whole thing feel a lot more gaggy. To clean it, of course, rinse it thoroughly under warm running water every morning after you use it. Rub off any coating, dry it before putting it away. And then every so often, I like to clean it just like I would a dish. I'll use some warm water and a little bit of mild soap, and then rinse it really well, dry it before putting it away. Now, if it's copper is what I carry in my shop. It's what I use. Copper will naturally darken and develop a patina over time, and that's the oxidation of the copper. I like to shine it up again every couple of weeks with lemon juice and salt. This is the best way to shine copper. Obviously, don't share tongue scrapers. This is kind of like a toothbrush. You wouldn't share your toothbrush with somebody else. Everyone just get their own tongue scraper. Okay, so after I scrape my tongue, I brush my teeth. I've been using the Dr. Tongue's tooth tablets because they have both bitter and astringent herbs, which promote a healthier saliva consistency, and that's going to support a healthy oral microbiome. Bitter actually stimulates the type of saliva that's thinner instead of thick, stringy style saliva. And this means that there's actually more saliva flowing around and through the mouth. And the more of it moving across your teeth and your tongue and your gums, the more it's actually physically rinsing away food debris and bacteria and their byproducts. And that watery type of saliva is what we want. We produce that type of saliva in rest and digest. That thick, stringy type of saliva is what we create when our sympathetic nervous system is activated. But that watery parasympathetic saliva carries digestive enzymes. This buffers the acidic environment that bacteria create that erodes our enamel. And astringent is amazing because there are actually studies that show the tannins that create the astringency actually reduce bacterial counts. And so I like the Dr. Tongue's tablets because it has different herbs like neem, which is honestly so bitter. It's also astringent. These tablets have an herbal blend called triphala, which is 3 different fruits that are powdered. This is also both bitter and astringent. I will say, I don't think that these are overbearing flavors happening in the tooth tablets, but if you're used to using Crest, it would probably be pretty gross at first. Okay, so after I brush, I then floss, and I don't use Glide anymore because it's come out that Glide has the same chemical as Teflon on it, so that's uncool. But instead I've been using this one that I really like that I've seen at Whole Foods. I get it at Vitamin Cottage. It's called Radius, and it's a sponge floss, so it expands in between your teeth and it still moves easily without ripping the floss. And so once I've done all of that in the morning, I do oil pulling while I'm waiting for my kettle to heat up. Oil pulling is also not a modern wellness hack. It's also written into these foundational texts where we find tongue scraping up to 2,000 years ago. So oil pulling is just swishing oil in your mouth. The classic oil that you would use is sesame oil for like 10 to 20 minutes on an empty stomach before eating or drinking anything. I hate the sesame oil for this. I've tried many different sesame-based oil pulling oils, and I find that a practice actually works much better if you actually do it. So I go for coconut for this. Ayurveda is so big into oil for everything. I always say it's kind of like Windex in my big fat Greek wedding. And so it's seen to draw out that ama, what our body couldn't fully process. And modern research calls this lipophilic binding. And so 10 to 20 minutes of oil pulling is what helps you to do the thing. But the classical texts don't associate oil pulling just with dental and gum health, but with broader effects on our jaw strength and our voice and sinus and headache relief. And if you haven't done this before, don't take my word for it. Get yourself a spoonful of coconut oil. It does not need to be a big heaving spoon. I take like a teaspoon. Put it in your mouth and just swish it around. I personally have never found this to be gross. I've been oil pulling for a very long time. I've never really thought it was gross, but I know that some people do struggle with that. But just try it out and notice how good your teeth and gums look and feel after a couple weeks of consistent practice. So that's what I have for you today. That's my rundown on oral health for the dinacharya, the daily routine. Let me know if you try any of these things. Let me know how they go. I will be back next week to continue on with the series. And until then, be well. You've been listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality. If you like what you heard today, consider giving me a 5-star rating. It helps other people just like you to find the show. You can shop products and find all of my offerings on my website, stratumaesthetics.com, and follow me on my social channels at Stratum Aesthetics.